It's normally a quiet race at the Russian Grand Prix. Sochi doesn't necessarily sizzle too often. Well, you can forget about all of that. We had a century of victories for Lewis Hamilton, late drama with Lando Norris, a magnificent Max Verstappen drive, and all of this came in the final few laps. This was a Grand Prix not to be missed, and here at GP Fans, we're going to try and do our best to bring you the key headlines coming out of a sensational Sunday at the Russian Grand Prix. Before we go any further, hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date with everything that we do here at the channel. But let's get into some of the all-important action from on track. First up, it's the obvious headline. Lewis Hamilton made Formula One history on Sunday at the Russian Grand Prix, becoming the first ever driver in the sport's history to reach the 100 race victory mark. Now, win number 100 didn't come easily for Hamilton, but it did epitomise his incredible career with correct judgment of conditions, pure racing instinct, and a huge chunk of help from his team as well, helping to get him to the century mark finally. Aided by a handful of iffy pit stops from other drivers, the Brit found himself, after a clinically smooth drive, stuck in second place behind Lando Norris with a handful of laps remaining. It appeared that the young McLaren driver would perhaps have enough speed to keep the Mercedes at bay until the threatening rain that had been looming all afternoon in the seaside resort hit the circuit. Conditions became slippy, but the papaya-clad car wanted to stay out on track despite the warning from the pit wall, and that was followed suit by Hamilton, despite Mercedes pit lane being prepared to bring him in on lap 48. On lap 49, Mercedes finally pitted Lewis, switching to inters while Norris continued to maintain he could hold on before the worst of the water hit, while Lewis was heard on the radio saying to his team at that point, "It stopped raining." Midway through lap 51 of the 53-lap race, however, the heavens opened and Norris was still on slicks and skating on ice, or, well, standing water. With Lewis on the right tyre at the right time, he was easily able to pass in the torrid conditions. It has taken a long time just to get to 100, and I wasn't even sure whether or not it would come, said Hamilton. Lando did such an amazing job. He had incredible pace. He is doing such a great job for McLaren, and it was very bittersweet to see my old team ahead. They are doing so well. They won the last race and doing fantastic, and obviously powered by Mercedes. It is good to see them united again. Obviously the team made a great call at the end. I didn't want to let Lando go, and of course I didn't know what the weather was doing, but I am incredibly grateful to all these men and women here and back at the factory. Wow, 100. I was just determined to do the best job I could, continued Hamilton. It was tough. I lost a lot of ground at the start, just trying to stay out of trouble. Obviously, Max must have done a really great job to come up to second from last. We have our work cut out. I'm not sure. It would have been tough to get past Lando. He had great pace. He did the fastest lap, so it would have been tough to have got past unless we caught traffic or something, or he made a mistake, which he has not been doing at all. Then the rain came and it was very optimistic, and the team did an amazing job, so a big thank you to them. As hinted to there by Lewis, Max Verstappen was able to come from 20th on the grid to finish second on the podium at an exhilarating Russian Grand Prix. Red Bull had hoped that a 5th place finish was probably going to be the best outcome for Max on a track that hasn't often provided many remarkable moments in its brief Formula One history. But the early drive from Verstappen, along with capitalising on the conditions late, allowed the Dutch driver to fall to only 2 points behind his title rival Lewis Hamilton. In his Red Bull, Max was able to work his way through the rear of the field before slinking past the 14th place Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas after catching him on lap 6. Hamilton's teammate hardly put up a fight, and soon Verstappen was up into the top 6 after 16 laps and the early pit stops. After his pit stop at the same time as Hamilton, it looked as though Max would be settling for around about a 7th place finish in the race, but then late on the rain came, and the Red Bull pit wall made the right call to get him on the intermediates at the perfect moment. As the rest of the field floundered in the conditions, Max rocketed through to finish second in the closing laps. A lot of things happen on the first lap and even in the first stint with other cars also fighting each other, said Verstappen of the opening exchanges. You just have to stay out of trouble and stay clean, and I think we managed all of that very well, and the crucial call to go onto the inters worked out. Speaking about the latter part of the race, the title contender added, "It was pretty tricky on the in-lap to make the call to go to inters, but at one point it was really slippery," explained Max. "I think we decided at the right time to pit because if we had gone one lap earlier, you would have probably destroyed the inters in the last sector. But of course, to come from last to second is very good. And the race itself was not very easy because it was very difficult to pass again. And once you got stuck, it was very easy to damage your tyres. Luckily, the rain helped us to make that last jump." And what of Lando Norris? An afternoon of what could have been for the young driver who was denied a first race win of his career after deciding to stay out on his slicks as the rain began to come down in the final few laps. Speaking after his still incredible drive, the driver of the day voted for by the fans said, "I don't know where to start. Unhappy, devastated in a way," Norris told Sky Sports F1. "We made a call to stay out and we stand by that call. Obviously, it was the wrong call at the end of the day. I made the decision just as much as the team. In fact, it was more that they thought I should box and I decided to stay out. It was my decision. I thought it was the way to go. Just a bit of heartbreak. I felt like I did everything I could, even when it got tricky at the end. I had a couple of mistakes, but I still kept Lewis behind and started to pull away a little bit. A bit of luck, like the laps I was out before Lewis boxed. It was perfectly fine for the tyres I was on. I was told the rain was going to stay the same amount. If it was the same amount, we had the right decision. I think staying out was the correct decision, but then obviously it got a lot wetter than we as a team expected." So unlucky for Lando, but perhaps a young driver's naivety in crucial moments came through as Lewis Hamilton reaches that incredible century mark. And Max Verstappen, what a job he's done to ensure damage limitation to his Drivers' World Championship fight. Who was your driver of the weekend overall, though? Was it Lewis to recover from that rather iffy Saturday? Was it Max to come all the way from the back? Or was it Lando to lead the pack for so long? Let us know in the comments section below. Let us know if there's any other drivers that we should be mentioning as well. A great podium for Carlos Sainz, of course. And remember, we will have the GP Fans Stewards Room podcast coming out later on this week to analyse everything that went down in Sochi. It's going to be a massive one. And hit that subscribe button down below to stay up to date with everything that we do here on the channel.